Drugarice i drugovi, smrt fašizmu.
Let the school begin. I'm getting passionate.
Welcome to our 12th Korčula School. The RICH program will foster a substantive and lively discussion, particularly on three key issues that are the biggest challenges of the day: the Balkans and Ukraine, similarities, potential repercussions for the Western Balkans, the European integration process, and the international response, focusing on lessons learned and resolution, regional perspectives, social democracy 3.0, gender equality and women's rights, values, ideology and accomplishments, which are at the epicenter of the proclaimed casus belli by the conservatives and right-wing crusaders mainstreamed in the discussion with a special focus on the gender pay gap. Progressive, left, social democratic and socialist movements should organize, join hands, be strategic, active and clear in saying this should not be the world we live in or the world of our future. Enough is enough. This year's session is organized in cooperation with the Olof Palme International Center, group of the Progressive Alliance of Socialists and Democrats in the European Parliament, the Foundation for European Progressive Studies and the European Forum for Democracy and Solidarity.
We are actually the real legions of democracy and progressiveness because we see each other, we meet each other all the time and speak the truth.
Dobrodošli na našu 12. Korčulansku školu. U našem bogatom programu očekuju vas sadržajne i energične rasprave s naglaskom na tri aktualne teme koje se nameću kao najveći izazovi današnjice: Balkan i Ukrajina, sličnosti, moguće posljedice za Zapadni Balkan, europske integracije i međunarodne reakcija, uz naglasak na naučene lekcije i rješavanje problema. Regionalne perspektive, socijaldemokracija 3.0, rodna ravnopravnost i ženska prava, vrijednosti, ideologija, postignuća koja su u srži konflikta koji pokreću konzervativne i desničarske snage kao glavne teme rasprave, uz poseban naglasak na rodni jaz u plaćama. Progresivni, lijevi, socijaldemokratski i socijalni pokreti trebali bi se organizirati, udružiti snage, strateški djelovati i jasno poručiti da ne bismo trebali živjeti u ovakvom svijetu i da ovo nije naša budućnost. Treba reći dosta. Ovogodišnja škola organizirana je u suradnji s Međunarodnim centrom Olof Palme, Savezom socijalista i demokrata u Europskom parlamentu, Zakladom za europske progresivne studije te Europskim forumom za demokraciju i solidarnost.
Well, good morning to everybody. Welcome to Korčula, our 12th year. And out of 12, 10 years in Korčula. So we're becoming veterans here. We will start with our partners to open up this Korčula school. Our speakers this morning will be Bjorn von Sydow, who's the president of the European Forum for Democracy and Solidarity. And let me just say that the Central and Eastern Network, Gender Network is part of the European Forum from its start. So we do have a 30-year track record. The second speaker will be Anna Sundström, who is the Secretary General of the Olof Palme Center. Unfortunately, Anna, for personal reasons, could not arrive, so she will be on Zoom. Our third speaker will be Laszlo Andor, the Secretary General of the FEPS, and a very valued partner before FEPS and in FEPS. Well, we are happy to have with us the mayor of Korčula, who is also a social democrat, Nika. And Nika, I have to give you a compliment straight off. Our colleagues are saying that the cultural program this year in Korčula is amazing. And then I will make a number of comments on the program. So without much ado, Bjorn, the stage is yours. We have English-Croatian interpretation. I think you'll have to take
it. Doesn't, yeah, does it work now?
Yes.
Social democratic and progressive friends, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to discuss very important issues and challenges right now in this seminar. And the Balkans, what are the experiences here, taking into account the experiences of Ukraine? of course, it's a very demanding and it's very important for all Europe. Secondly, we're going to bring up the regional aspects of social democracy. And I would say it had to be viewed, of course, in a European, at least, perspective. And the program should also have lenses on women. And I will start bringing your attention to some very interesting social science, which has not been, I think, enough considered in politics. And that is related to corruption. And my eyes fell upon it a few years ago when a colleague who had been one of the most leading political scientists in Sweden, he changed very much of his research some 10, 12 years ago, and with different colleagues started up programs on corruption. And one of the most interesting findings are of high political importance for here, in our views, it relates to a very important and to some extent depressive, but in the other direction, very promising experiences. Women are the gender who is able to bring up anti-corruption policies. Men are less considered to be agents in a strong anti-corruption policy. My eyes fell upon this gender aspect some years ago. I have been trying to find good articles, and one of the best I got at hand a few weeks ago is called "Close the Political Gender Gap to Reduce Corruption: How Women's Political Agenda and Risk Aversion Restricts Corrupt Behavior." That is a good formula, and I will go into some little deep upon it. But of course, it's the conclusion is on the program, and my, so to say, advice is bring women in important positions in our social democratic and affiliated parties on a strong anti-corruption program. Bring women at posts on all levels in your respective political system with one very important contribution. I will give some headlines on how they argue in this research. And it tells us that women are basically more interested in the social agenda of the political system. That is social differences, that is also deliveries, that social deliveries, for instance, in hospitals and in childcare and so, are produced and consumed in a transparent way. That is one part of women's views, how they can be operative in a political system. But they also have and that is also in the title, women tend to be more risk-aversive than men. That, therefore, women seems to have an implicit understanding: do not take great risks where you can end up in a court, where you can end up with social disliking, and disliking also within your own family, your kids especially. So women are, in that sense, more robust against corruption. they pinpoint that social service delivery, that is one possible task, for instance, in local and regional constituencies. But they also bring up what they call grand corruption, and that is when there exist networks predominantly by men. We hear very little and find very little when it comes to courts of women participating in grand networks. These are related to corrupting a whole political system. And that goes, we know that for sure, in many countries. My view is that corruption in all Europe and also in Western Europe was a great part of the political and economic system until around 1860 with the coming of industrialism. It turned out that it is very difficult to corrupt production in industrial sizes. So element of non-corruption and came down, and also with the increased effectiveness of media in those days. The most important factor, however, has been the Social Democratic Party and labor organizations in Europe. And of course, because they had very little money, they were based upon an other home than money, among capitalists, in the feudals, and to some extent also in the cultural area. So corruption was successively declining in countries where social democracy formed a more and more important contribution. I would say that for the northern parts, around 1920, corruption in the traditional sense was not present. However, of course, sometimes it happens anyhow. So this system has to be upheld by a political force that has no private return on money. Therefore, one has also been, it's very important that social democratic women and men who take political offices are paid in a reasonable way so that they can be strong against corruptive behavior, organizing themselves and profiting, or be just taking corruption. A few parts that I will, and then I will end up. The most important is that they find that women are on average more risk averse than men. And they have even an interesting way of formulating it is. And it comes here. For instance, in regions where the local council has more than 30% women representatives, less than 10% of the population has experienced corruption. So there is a relation. 30% of women in local councils, only 10% and less of the population know about, feel about corruption in that system. So this is a very promising result. And I can end up telling you that my view is that whatever are the other problems here in Western Balkans and then in Ukraine and other countries, bring up corruption and anti-corruption with a fundamental method of eliminating it. Bring in female representatives for your party. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
to connect with Anna Sundström.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not sure. Oh, there I am. Good morning, everyone. Now I can see myself, so now I know that you can also see me. I'm so happy to join you all this morning, even though I, of course, also admit that I would have been even more happy if I could also join you in beautiful Korčula. I'm so sorry I'm not able to attend in person. As Dasha said, this is the 12th edition of the Korčula School, and it also marks as many years that Olof Palme Center has been a strong and also proud partner of this important initiative, an important high-level event that it has developed into, and that we can also, by the participation and the so many important people and strong activists that's gathered in Korčula for this event, it's really, really a remarkable journey. And I think we should all give big thanks to Dasha and the Gender Network team. You are doing a fantastic work. Korčula School brings together progressive and social democratic leaders, politicians, and civil society representatives from Western Balkans and other countries in Europe. And the importance of these gatherings cannot be underestimated to strengthen our cooperation, take on all the challenges facing us, and together finding common strategies to fight back for peace, democracy, human rights, and of course, gender equality. This year's focus to share lessons learned and experiences from the Balkan conflicts of the 90s that may be relevant for the current war in Ukraine and its resolutions, I hope, is the start of a journey of close cooperation between progressives in the Western Balkans and Ukraine, a partnership we are happy to support in whatever way needed. With the Gender Network as a platform, we can also make sure to bring women together. Women, peace and security is far too often neglected, yet key for sustainable peace and development. So again, I am very, very much looking forward to these discussions. And as I said, hope is just the start of a journey of even more in-depth cooperation between progressives in our part of Europe, your part of Europe, and of course also Ukraine and the neighboring countries. So I wish us all a very fruitful conference, and again, sorry to not be able to join you in person. I know the room is filled with friends, and it would have been lovely to be there with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna, and we miss you too. Can we have Laszlo Andorf, the Secretary General, our partner, the Foundation for European Progressive Studies? There is Laszlo. Yeah, we miss you too this year.
Good morning. I hope you can hear me well. I can only echo Anna. For me, it's also a regret that I cannot be there in person. FEPS is represented by my excellent colleague Leticia Thyssen, who is responsible for gender policies. And this is obviously the first aspect I would like to highlight about the importance of the Korčula School. The Korčula School is definitely a leading voice in Central Europe regarding the debate on gender equality. And I just want to highlight one aspect, which is the importance of shaping European policy in this period when a cycle will come to an end in Brussels in the European institution, which actually delivered a lot in the field of gender politics. And we would need to define before the European campaign next spring what the next milestones should be, what the next targets should be, what the next tasks of the next European Parliament and the new European Commission should be. So I expect the debates in Korčula to contribute to this constructive debate and help us identifying the new goals, the new objectives, which will produce tangible results beyond the analysis which we always need to deliver together. But let me also highlight another important aspect of the Korčula School, which is the role it plays in coordinating social democratic politics in the Western Balkans. This is also something which we appreciate a lot. And in the last 2 years, we launched another project, which is the Friends of the Western Balkans, which has a designated a task, an objective to energize the progress with Western Balkan integration and the enlargement of the European Union. This is again something which has been much discussed, but without practical steps in the past decade. And I think now on the 10th anniversary of the accession of Croatia to the European Union, we would need to define the expectations for the next 10 years in concrete terms, how and when exactly further countries could join the EU in this region, from this region, very, very concretely. This is a very important task. And the third aspect, which is specific in this round of the Korčula debates, obviously, is to draw lessons from the Balkan wars of the 1990s in the context of the current war in Ukraine. Obviously, last year, the Russian aggression was a shock for many of us, not totally unexpected, because the war had been boiling inside Ukraine, but also around the country in the previous decade. I must say that many of us have vivid memories of the 1990s. What a tragedy it was in the aftermath of the disintegration of Yugoslavia. The nations that had lived before together turned against each other, and it took years and years to stop the violence. And obviously, some forms of the current peace are still not yet considered final. And there are still many, many questions around the arrangements that emerged in the last 15 years. Nevertheless, I think there are many, many lessons, and I will be also eager to listen to the conversations that come today and tomorrow in this context. So I also wish you a good discussion, and I can provide reassurance that FEPS remains a committed supporter of the Korčula School. We will be happy to discuss the next steps after this round. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Laszlo, for all the cooperation and partnership, which I think is very complimentary. We'll finish this opening session with Nika. Nika, we are on your territory, and we are happy to have you with us, and then we will go into the kickoff session.
Thank you. My plan was to talk on Croatia. Now I feel so small. Welcome, and I like to say hello in behalf of City of Korčula and in person. I'm happy to be part of this, and I'm very proud of Korčula School, and I'd like to thank everybody that it still exists and it will exist and it's so successful. There are many important subjects. Some of them are new because in 1 year time from school to school, world changed again. There are so many new questions, but some themes are internal. So I hope we will have a good discussion and good time in Korčula, and welcome once again.